In the sun-drenched suburbs of 1990s California, where front lawns often doubled as BMX racetracks and makeshift rollerblade ramps, Christmas wasn't just another holiday. It was a full-on cultural event. It came with its own soundtrack, its own rituals, and an unmistakable magic that pulsed through neighborhoods lined with twinkling lights and inflatable Santas. It wasn't just about December 25th. The entire month was electric with anticipation. Kids counted down with paper chains and advent calendars. Parents frantically circled catalog pages, and malls from San Diego to Sacramento transformed into glittering labyrinths of tinsel, animatronic elves, and impossible parking. Across the West Coast, from the misty hills of Marin County to the stucco sprawl of Inland Empire, holiday memories weren't just made under the tree. They were forged in the glowing aisles of Toys R Us, Target, and KB Toys, where kids negotiated with parents like little attorneys. If I get this, I don't need anything else. These places weren't stores. They were arenas of possibility. It was a simpler time, before smartphones and next-day shipping, when toy commercials were sacred texts and a single item on your wish list could define the entire year. Ask any self-respecting 90s kid from California what they remember most about Christmas, and they'll likely launch into a half-nostalgic, half-unhinged monologue about the toys that shaped their entire childhood. Gifts weren't just things, they were life events. Take the Doodle Bear, for example. This wasn't merely a plush toy. It was a companion, an artistic medium, a social experiment, and in some cases, a deeply misunderstood punk icon. With washable markers in hand, kids covered their Doodle Bears in doodles, names, symbols, and inevitably inappropriate jokes only visible under a parent's glare. The bear went in and out of the washing machine more often than any child's favorite shirt. Some became sketchpads for sibling graffiti wars. Others, shockingly, survived relatively unscathed and now sit in glass display cases or on nostalgia blogs, revered as survivors of an ink-soaked age. And who could forget moon shoes? The marketing promised lunar adventure. The reality often delivered sprained ankles. Billed as mini trampolines for your feet, they were clunky, plastic, and utterly irresistible. Strapping them on felt like gearing up for a NASA mission, even if the launch often ended with a face-first plunge into a cracked driveway. On the West Coast, where every backyard was a proving ground, moon shoes separated the cautious from the truly chaotic. If your front porch didn't have at least one kid screaming, "Watch this!" before a catastrophic tumble, you weren't doing the holidays right. Of course, for the more domestically inclined, or at least those pretending to be, there was the Easy Bake Oven. A marvel of micro-appliance technology, it promised gourmet results via the heat of a single light bulb. In kitchens from Bakersfield to Berkeley, kids churned out undersized cakes, half-cooked cookies, and vaguely chocolatey lava that stuck to metal trays and never quite came off. Some children found their culinary calling here, proudly plating gooey cupcakes for bewildered relatives. Others stared into the glowing cavity with crushed hopes, wondering how a machine powered by a bulb could possibly make anything edible. Still, the ritual mattered. The smell, the tiny spatula, the feeling of doing something grown up. That was the point. Of course, no Christmas season in the 1990s was truly complete without a Nintendo system tucked beneath the tree. On the West Coast, from the sunny sprawl of Southern California to the rain-soaked suburbs of Seattle, the morning of December 25th often kicked off with the unmistakable shriek of delight as kids tore through wrapping paper to reveal the boxy glory of an N64. For the especially lucky, it came bundled with Super Mario 64 or GoldenEye 007, a gift that would render the rest of the winter break an unforgettable blur of joystick strain, thumb calluses, and microwave pizza rolls devoured between multiplayer rounds. The unmistakable buzz of CRT static filled living rooms as cousins, siblings, and visiting friends crowded around the screen, hollering through chaotic WCW/NWO revenge tag team matches. PlayStation fans had their moment too. Crash Bandicoot, Final Fantasy VII, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but there was something uniquely West Coast about that low-slung living room scene. Sun filtering through half-open blinds, leftover tamales on the kitchen counter, and a chorus of kids screaming, "No odd job!" Meanwhile, the reign of action figures and dolls was in full force. Power Rangers were more than toys. They were an identity. Whether it was the sleek White Tiger Zord, the rare Green Ranger, or a full lineup of color-coded heroes, these figures dictated the terms of playroom diplomacy. Barbie remained an icon, her dream house acting as both sanctuary and set piece for elaborate soap operas choreographed by elementary-aged auteurs. The pink and teal dream house, in particular, was a status symbol that gleamed like a shrine against the taupe carpets of every Californian ranch-style home. And if you got your hands on Go-Go My Walking Pup, that was next level. Despite the floppy leash and its frustratingly uncoordinated gait, the animatronic pooch offered the illusion of real pet ownership, minus the vet bills and yard cleanup. Then there were the Lisa Frank years. For many West Coast girls, Lisa Frank was less a brand and more a full-spectrum lifestyle. Her kaleidoscopic world of rainbow leopards, flying ponies, and glittery space dolphins exploded across folders, notebooks, stickers, pencil cases, and anything else that could be crammed into a sparkly backpack. A fully stocked caboodles case, often decorated with puffy stickers or glitter paint, served as this sacred vault for gel pens, lip smackers, and the occasional stick-on earring. Binders weren't just for school. They were canvases. Lockers became shrines. And sometimes, little brothers were unwilling canvases too, bedazzled in Lisa Frank's Technicolor rebellion against boring adult design. And let's not forget the high-octane thrill of remote control cars, particularly the Tyco Rebound and its even wilder sibling, the Tyco Ricochet. These weren't just toys, they were miniature monsters of chaos, capable of flips, 360-degree spins, and rooftop to sidewalk acrobatics that made parents wince and kids cheer. No curb was safe. No flower bed remained undisturbed. And even though they chewed through batteries like a kid through Christmas cookies, the sheer joy of making one of those bad boys flip mid-air and land on its wheels was unmatched. It wasn't just play, it was spectacle. Even the oddball gifts had their moments of glory. Their short-lived reigns as the coolest thing in the room. Creepy crawlers, for example, let kids play mad scientists with goopy molds that turned into gummy bugs. Rubbery creations no one really wanted to touch, let alone eat, but everyone still insisted on making. The Talkboy, made famous by Home Alone 2, had an almost mythic status. With a few buttons and a cassette tape, it could transform any kid into a low-level audio wizard or amateur prankster. Entire afternoons were spent warping voices and recording fake radio shows, often to the annoyance of any adults within earshot. Then there were Furbies, which seemed to speak in some unholy hybrid of gibberish and prophecy. They blinked, moved, and made strange sounds at random times, often in the middle of the night. You either loved them or feared them, or, more commonly, both. And who could forget the clear plastic landline phone with neon-colored inner components? It wasn't just a phone, it was a statement. For tweens in the know, it felt like a piece of science fiction had landed in their bedroom, especially when it sat next to a Discman and a stack of burned CDs labeled in thick, glittery bubble letters. In the more tech-forward households where someone's older sibling already had LimeWire or Napster dialed in, a Game Boy Color was practically expected. More often than not, it came bundled with Pokemon Red or Blue, those square gray cartridges that turned commutes, long waits at restaurants, and road trips into intense, silent battles. Siblings would stretch link cables from bunk bed to bunk bed in the dead of night. Carefully timed trades taking place under flashlight beams and whispered negotiations. Meanwhile, parents wandered by and marveled at how something so small and so hard to see in dim lighting could keep a kid's attention for hours. Other popular gifts didn't require electricity to be iconic. Starter jackets reigned supreme, especially those repping Raiders, Bulls, or Lakers logos. Rollerblades turned every suburban sidewalk into a racetrack. And if you were one of the lucky few who got the rare gold N64 controller, you instantly became the ruler of every multiplayer gaming session, at least until someone rage quit over GoldenEye. Not every gift came from a toy aisle or electronics department. Some were handmade, intentional, and personal in a way that still lingers. One kid remembered receiving a printer's tray-turned shadow box, carefully restored and filled with wooden miniatures collected by their mother at weekend craft fairs. Each tiny figure had its own spot on the shelf, its own story. Another remembered being gifted a small boxy TV for their bedroom. Not flashy, not expensive, but life-changing. After a move to a remote town, away from familiar streets and school friends, that TV became a companion, a window to the world, and sometimes just a way to not feel so alone. These weren't showstopper gifts. They didn't beep, glow, or launch missiles. But they came with thought and with heart. The kind of presents that, in hindsight, mattered more than most. Looking back now, the West Coast Christmases of the 1990s were about far more than what came wrapped in glossy paper. Sure, there were gadgets, gizmos, and a mountain of commercials convincing you that happiness came with a jingle. But what really stuck were the feelings those mornings held. The crackle of excitement in the air, the early hour light filtering in through living room curtains, the smell of cinnamon rolls, or tamales warming in the kitchen. There was the moment you tore through wrapping paper and found exactly what you'd circled in the Sears wish book. And the moment right after, when you shared it with a sibling or friend or cousin who got something almost as cool. It was the sound of RC cars crashing into walls, the whirring of a Hot Wheels track, and the hiss of a new CD sliding into a boombox. It was moms and dads trying to decode vague, barely translated instruction manuals, and sometimes giving up and just winging it. But more than anything, Christmas in the 90s was about magic. Not the kind sold on TV or powered by batteries, but the quiet, unmistakable kind that lives in memory. The magic of waking up before the sun, creeping down the hallway, and seeing the glow of tree lights bouncing off freshly unwrapped toys. The magic of believing, even if only for a morning, that the world had stopped just to give you everything you ever wanted. It wasn't about the price tags or even the toys themselves. It was about joy. Unfiltered, unmeasured, unforgettable joy, and the sense that, just maybe, life could stay that good forever.
Come along, let's sing, where the joy will bring. Tune into the beat, feel the magic, it's true. Channel 199X, we're here just for you, for you.